So as we move to the second session of our session today, I'm so excited to introduce to you young, powerful leaders who will be sharing their leadership journey and their leadership experiences. I will just give a brief introduction of all of them. Eli is a young trans man living with HIV. He works with an organization, and different organization, and one of those organizations is CHIVA. Eli is CHIVA's youth advocacy worker and has previously attended BHIVAA and also other conferences representing the voices of young people living with HIV. Working alongside CHIVA's youth committee, he also tweets on their Twitter handle at Freedom2SPK.
Hi, so my name is Abby Carter and I am the CHIVA Participation Officer.
And I'm Eli. I am the youth advocacy worker for CHIVA and the CYC.
So we're
CHIVA Youth Committee.
We're going to have a conversation to tell you a little bit about Eli's role and how that works with our organisation and the young people growing up with HIV in the UK specifically. So Eli's role as youth advocacy worker very much came about organically. You know, it was something, a lot of the activities that are required by that role were things that Eli was already doing. And so we approached him to take on this role. And one of the key elements of the role is to represent young people living with HIV and the CHIVA Youth Committee at public events, as the young people in the youth committee do not live openly with HIV. So Eli's role is to go to public events like conferences or specially convened meetings or events to represent young people, and also to work and network with adult activists and people working in the adult HIV sector. So Eli, do you want to tell us a little bit about some of those events and conferences?
So a few of the things I've done is attend conferences like BEVA and NIVNA, and just do talks and talk to doctors about the issues that affect young people living with HIV in the UK. Other things I've done at these talks is present some of the work that we've done with CHIVA projects. So art is key, and I read some poems that were made there. And then also I attend a variety of different meetings and network, trying to see what we can do to really get more stuff out there for young people living with HIV, and to network with medical professionals to ensure that our voices are definitely being heard and always have a seat at the table, even though a lot of us living with HIV and are young, our voices often aren't heard, because we're not all out, we're not all able to speak openly about HIV. So my job really is just have a seat at the table when
yeah, absolutely. And also in the UK context, young people growing up with HIV are in a minority compared to the adults living with HIV or the adult population. However, there are larger numbers of young people now transitioning into adult clinics, aren't there? And so one of the really valuable things that you've been able to do over the last couple of years is show the experience of somebody growing up with HIV to the adult doctors, the adult healthcare teams, as they perhaps don't realise that there is a real difference between growing up with HIV and acquiring HIV as an adult.
Yeah, it's very important to make sure, like especially transitioning clinics, like my transition itself wasn't the smoothest, and to ensure that if I can explain why mine wasn't the smoothest transition, then that means that other young people's transitions from pediatrics to adult clinics can go a lot easier, to just ensure that everyone has the ability to really sort of advocate for their own like ability to transition into adult care, and that, you know, that our voices are heard as we transition, and that we do have different needs to those who have acquired HIV later on in life as adults.
Yeah, absolutely. And often when you go to these events, like you've been to stuff in the UK Parliament, haven't you? You've done, like you say, British HIV Association and the Nurses HIV Association events and conferences, but often you're the only person who's speaking on behalf of young people, aren't you? So it's really important part of what CHIVA does as an organisation, is that we're really happy and proud to have someone in your role taking those voices to those arenas where they need to be heard. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the Twitter, what you do on the @Freedom to Speak Twitter?
So the CYC, which is the CHIVA Youth Committee, they have this little Twitter. The is Freedom to Speak, the number 2, and then SPK. And basically, it used to be tweets from members of the CYC themselves, but I now tweet from it as the perspective of young people growing up and living with HIV. And it's a really good Twitter. It's a really good way that we can get our voices heard to a larger audience. So we have quite a large-ish following. But yeah, we definitely get heard. It's a really good way for us to get a lot more information, and for medical professionals that use Twitter a lot to really see our perspective on things, and so we can stay in the loop of what's happening within the HIV sector in the UK, but also globally.
Yeah, brilliant. And that also the Twitter has allowed us also to talk across other areas, like sort of GPs, that's general practitioners in the UK, and adolescent health services or mental health services. So it's really broad, because there are a lot of medical people that use Twitter, don't they, to communicate with each other and talk about issues. So it's really great that we've been able to bring the experiences of young people growing up with HIV into those other policy areas. So yeah, we're really proud of that particular element of Eli's role. And
some good opportunities after the Twitter as well in the past.
Yeah. Cool. Is there anything else you would like to say about your role before we sort of finish up?
I don't think so. I think we might have covered most things.
Yeah, well, anyone else, if anyone wants to hear more, they can come and hear your talk on the panel. And also my poster 56 on the same day is also about the CHIVA Youth Committee and all that we've done over the last few years. Thanks
really
for
good.
listening.
10 out of 10.
Thank you.
Distinguished delegates, I'm excited to introduce to you Jennifer Kayombo, our second panelist. Jennifer Kayombo is a youth leader. She is also a girl and women's activist, as well as an author. She is a strong advocate on sexual, reproductive, and gender issues, volunteering with Afriyan Tanzania as a program officer.
My name is Jennifer Kayombo. I'm from Tanzania. I'm a sexual, reproductive health and rights activist. I'm just done with my university. I took a Bachelor of Project Planning Management and Community Development because I'm so passionate about my community. Through my journey, I have been taking different leadership roles in both local, national, and international organizations, whereby I was the youngest youth adversarial panel member of UNFPA. I just took that position when I was only in my Form 6 advanced level. And through that position, I was able to learn how UNFPA work and implement their activities, but also I was being able to have an opportunity to advise and contribute on how effective I think UNFPA programs, projects, activity should be established and implemented to serve the best interest of young people, especially when it comes to sexual reproductive health and rights issues. But also through that opportunity as a young person, I was being able to be promoted in terms of my expertise and my knowledge. But also, apart from that, UNFPA has been able to support me to attend different kind of national and international conferences, which has increased my network, professional network and social network. But also I have been also working with a national organization, or I can say a local organization here in my country. It's called FEMINA. I have been volunteering with them in their Girl Power Team project, whereby I have been able to provide menstruation hygiene management education, or to train and capacitate those 100 young girls so that they could create and advocate for enabling environment in their school setting concerning menstruation in terms of proper toilet, availability of water, and safe and clean water, but also availability of emergency sanitary pads. But also have been able to train more than 50 students, more than 50 teachers who together with the students they have been working or collaborating to ensure that they advocate and promote a better environment for young girls so that they could keep young girls in school even when they are in their menstrual periods. But also as a young person, through taking these different leadership roles, I had an opportunity to attend different stakeholders meeting and conference whereby I have been able to sit with government officials, with different kind of leaders who have been raising my voice on behalf of other adolescent girls, but also young women and youth in general on our agendas in order to shape the policies, the laws, the program and the projects which at some point they are being established and implemented to serve the needs of young people or to solve the problem that young people are being facing. So to me, this leadership role that I have been taking and that I will continue taking, it's not about the title that I'm having, but it's more than an opportunity and platform that I have been getting and that I will be continue getting in order to raise my voice on behalf of other young people who have not been yet get such an opportunity like mine. So I really encourage this organization, institution to continue providing this platform for young people because they don't only increase our knowledge and expertise, but also these are the only platform that young people we can use to raise our voices so that whatever that is being doing for young people could be doing for us, by us, and serve our best interest. I'm looking forward to learn a lot of things today from different people in different countries. So I just feel blessed and lucky.
Our third panelist is Costa, Applesta. She is currently engaging in providing psychosocial support to adolescents and young people living with HIV through an intervention aiming to build resilience. Developed a psychological need assessment tool to assess the client's personal, family, social, medical, and psychological, as well as psychiatric, sexual education, vocational, and environmental history, thereby identifying the needs to be taken into consideration while administering counseling sessions. Cases on non-adherence to treatment, impulsivity, behavioral problems, career confusion, BPAD, depression, relationship issues, disclosure of status grief, self-harm, anxiety, stress, risky sexual behaviors, ADHD, nutrition counseling, substance abuse are just a few cases dealt with. She has incorporated techniques of various therapies like cognitive behavior therapy, interpersonal therapy, behavior therapy, motivational enhancement therapy, as well as progressive muscle relaxation, anger management, rational emotive behavior therapy. And within all these counseling sessions, as well as conducting group counseling sessions for the aftermath beneficiaries of Human Touch Foundation. During the course, referrals to a psychiatrist and other medical professionals have been made when essential.
A kind gesture can reach a wound that only compassion can heal. Quote unquote, Steve Maraboli. As a kid, I was taught to look out for those in need, to help people who suffer among the community. It is a value that I closely cherish. And so it followed. Observing people around me, their behavior, was my favorite pastime. Like any other human, I began to be very curious. And this curiosity in me developed a keen interest to study human behavior and thought processes. Namaste, I'm Applesta Maryann Costa fondly known as Apple, from Goa, a state in the western India with coastline stretching along the Arabian Sea. It is also known for its pristine beaches. A psychologist by profession with a postgraduate degree in clinical psychology, I am currently heading the psychosocial support programs at Human Touch Foundation, a youth-focused and youth-serving organization which works within the areas of sexual and reproductive health, HIV, tuberculosis, and substance abuse. We work strategically and collaboratively to strengthen the movement to ensure the health, well-being, and human rights to all young people. With core values of engagement with our beneficiaries, we believe in creating delightful experiences for our adolescents. We strongly believe that the psychosocial milieu in which these adolescents live with HIV, it deserves consideration. Adolescents and young people who live with HIV face a range of mental health issues that, when it is not dealt with appropriately, can lead to more serious problems. A large number of adolescents have experienced bereavement, inconsistent care, loss of educational opportunities, and having to care for their siblings and ill relatives and family members while dealing with their own illness. As a mental health professional and a young leader, I advocate mental health services for young people by helping them to recognize distress within themselves and their peers and to seek professional help. Currently, I am on a journey with over 200 adolescents living with HIV, assisting them to set life goals and acquire viral suppression so that they can be productive, stay healthy, and stay alive. Thank you.
Our last and final panelist for this particular session is Nthabeleng. She is a woman who is passionate about changing people's lives for the better. She completed her degree in development studies, and she also did French in 2017 at the National University of Lesotho, specializing in special project management and gender mainstreaming courses. She volunteered at the university radio station, working as the head news and mentor youth in youth programs. She joined Lesotho Network of AIDS Services Organizations in 2017, leading youth-related HIV prevention programs as the event coordinator for mobilizing of HIV and TB services uptake in the communities of Lesotho. She works as her voice adolescent girls and young women ambassador for Lesotho, advocating for meaningful engagement of adolescent girls and young women in decision-making platforms that shape the HIV response. She formed the Adolescent Girls and Young Women Empowerment Groups in 10 districts of Lesotho, where she trains district ambassadors on running and overseeing sustainability of adolescent girls and young women groups. She was part of reviewing the National HIV and TB Strategic Plan, and in the process, she developed the National Operational Plan. Nthabeleng works with ATHENA Network as the What Girls Want, What Women Want focal point person in Lesotho. She advocates for equality, women's rights in the HIV response in all their diversity, and their meaningful engagement in platforms where their ideas could influence national girl-centered policy. She reached about 700 adolescent girls and young women with sexual and reproductive health and rights messages and issued sanitary towels as contribution to keeping them in school. Welcome.
Hi everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Nts'ekalle from Lesotho. I'm the ATHENA focal point here. Hashtag what girls want, what women want. And I'm very excited to be here today to be sharing with you what ATHENA Network has been doing in supporting young women and girls leadership in peer-to-peer advocacy through engaging them in sexual reproductive health and rights advocacy in HIV response. But first of all, I would like to start with the brief background of ATHENA. ATHENA works to address the core factors that increase girls' risk and vulnerability to HIV and to highlight the elements that have been overlooked. ATHENA's mission is to advance the recognition, protection, and fulfillment of women's and girls' human rights within the HIV response. It has supported young women to conduct peer-to-peer advocacy packaged with evidence-based strategies that address structural barriers that fuel adolescent girls and young women risk and vulnerability to HIV, sexual violence, and limited access to sexual reproductive health and rights information and services. This happened after some key findings that was done by ATHENA, whereby peer-to-peer advocacy at the community level to regional level makes information on SRHR easily accessible and available in a language that adolescent girls and young women are familiar with and can easily comprehend. The other finding was that peer-to-peer advocacy has continued to provide a safe space for adolescent girls and young women to open up about their challenges, their concerns, and can openly ask questions about their bodies and rights, since they find the space non-judgmental. And this has continued to create a unique, safe environment for them to get correct and accurate information on issues that they want to know, especially SRHR. ATHENA did a survey before the launch of the #WhatGirlsWant project and found out that comprehensive knowledge among adolescent girls and young women is at 54% and 64% among the boys. While the focus has been on the general women population, the adolescent girls and young women have constantly been marginalized as the targets and beneficiaries of these initiatives. ATHENA realized that effective HIV prevention programs for them critically depend on developing and expanding leadership, giving platform for their voices, realizing their knowledge, and implementing solutions led by them. And that's when there was introduction of the use of peer-to-peer engagement, which has continued to show promise in delivering HIV-related health information and services to adolescent girls and young women. The main objectives of ATHENA are to amplify the leadership of young women and girls around 10 countries in the Southern and Eastern Africa, where ATHENA has its intervention to champion and demonstrate the impact of peer-to-peer engagement, enriching adolescent girls and young women with information on SRHR, as well as developing the most effective evidence-based programs to improve the lives and the supportive environment. There are some specific objectives of ATHENA. This includes refining HURW peer mentoring models through the #WhatGirlsWant focal points for future scaling up sustainability and ensuring a skill-based advocacy. And the other one is facilitating engagement and creation of safe spaces to dialogue with key decision makers in HIV, SRHR, and gender equality at local, national, and global levels. The methodology that ATHENA uses is that the #WhatGirlsWant campaign, it involved the focal points in the 10 countries, which include Kenya, Uganda, Zimbabwe, Zambia, Namibia, Malawi, Lesotho, Botswana, Tanzania, and South Africa, whereby the #WhatGirlsWant focal points were selected after nomination from community partners based on interest, knowledge, expertise and mentorship, advocacy, experience, and commitment in partnering with other young women. Among them is a wide representation of young women in their diversities, including young women living with disabilities and young women living with HIV. They were nominated by community partners who were invited to identify young women actively involved in leadership programs with their HURWs in their community levels. They have been actively leading advocacy at the community level in their countries, and they continue mapping the needs and concerns of HURWs as they lead the #WhatGirlsWant advocacy campaign, focusing on HIV prevention, and are responsible for mobilizing HURW in their country to create a movement of well-connected AGYW in their diversity at country level. They have continued to provide positive modeling and encouraging diverse views and experiences in a safe space. In this safe spaces, information on SRHR and HIV prevention and treatment is shared. AGYW openly share their HIV statuses, receive treatment, adherence counseling, while getting advice on other issues pertaining their specific needs. Here also, young women leading projects at the community level enable peers and other community members, including community gatekeepers, to appreciate, support, and advocate for the rights of the adolescent girls and young women, as well as mobilizing a greater awareness of and advocacy around adolescent girls and young women rights. The results of this beautiful work is that the evaluation of the project found that adolescent girls who partner with the #WhatGirlsWant country focal persons from the 10 countries of the Eastern and Southern Africa are better able to make informed choices, support and educate their peers to take positive steps, seek available SRHR options, understand HIV prevention and treatment options, more actively participate in their own care, feel more confident about telling others about their HIV status, and talking and sharing information with others freely. The conclusion is that through this, young women advocacy has been realized to be the peer-to-peer model, which has continued to enable an environment with increased level of self-esteem, confidence, as well as creating a safe space for survivors of gender-based violence to open up and seek help. It serves as an effective advocacy tool for girl-centered agendas relevant at the local, national, regional, and global levels. ATHENA embraces partnering with young women leaders because it considers inclusion of them as an essential act in advocacy process, which allows supporting the construction of young women leadership and complying with the principle of plurality, including inclusion in decision-making and leading processes as a way of helping in strengthening the knowledge, experience, and social awareness of a young woman as a participatory actor. Thank you so much. I don't know what to say. I'm very excited. I hope you all can understand the role ATHENA has been playing in our lives, especially for us as the focal points in our different countries, being able to lead the beautiful work of fighting for the rights and the inclusion of our sisters in the grassroots. Thank you so much.